Well, hello, everybody, and thanks for joining me. My name is Scott Schuler. I am the other half of Scott and Brenda Schuler, Royal Crown Diamonds with Young Living. Today, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about building stronger teams and the 7 values that we feel as a couple that are important for that strong leadership and which in turn builds stronger teams. So let's get into it and see if we can get you a little bit of good information today. So what builds strong, loyal organizations? Well, let's look at 2 things that are typically associated with or found with strong, loyal organizations. The first thing that people always talk about is vision. Now, vision is what tells you where you're going, but the other thing that we have to look at are the values. And to explain it a little bit more, let's say you're going to go on a vacation. The vision piece is deciding where you want to go. It's looking at, okay, we want to take the family to Disneyland. The values piece is what gets you there, or your map or your GPS or whatever technology you're using these days to tell you how to get there. And we look at this piece and understand that your culture is set by the values, and it's this culture that eats vision for lunch every time. You know, oftentimes we hear people talking about how that vision piece is the most important piece of building a business. It's having that vision. Well, let's relate it back to the vacation piece again. Yes, true, without vision, you don't know where you're going to go on vacation. But without a map, the proper map or the proper values and the culture that is set by those values. So let's say you want to go to Disneyland in Florida, and the map or the values that you have is a map of Australia. How valuable, how good is your vision if you don't have the values that set the culture in order to get you there? So that's one of the pieces that we're going to look at a little bit, and that's why we're going to talk about those 7 values that we feel are key leadership values to set that culture. So the first one is motivate, that we're going to talk about, how to be motivated and be motivating. Trust, building trust through teamwork. Listen, how to be a good communicator and a better listener. Resourceful, how to think like an entrepreneur and be resourceful. Simplicity, always seeking simplicity. That test piece of testing yourself and testing others. And the excellence piece, seeking excellence, not success. So let's start out with the first one, which is be motivated and be motivating. And the piece with this is before you can motivate others, you have to be motivated yourself. I hear all the time, Brenda and I we hear all the time, one of the biggest questions is, how do I motivate my people? Pretty plain and simple. The biggest thing is you have to be motivated yourself first, because if you're not motivated yourself, nobody underneath you is going to be motivated. Followers always do what leaders do, but they usually do it to excess. So one of the first things we tell people is you have to take a look at yourself and what your willingness to do and what your motivation looks like and how you're expressing that motivation. Are you showing through your actions and allowing your team to see how motivated you are? For example, if you are not really into Facebook, like I'm more of a private person. I really don't want to show what my life looks like to the team or to anybody for that matter. But if I'm not willing to show us on Facebook or on social media having a good time, enjoying the fruits of our labor, the fruits of this business, enjoying time with team, enjoying time as a family that the benefit is from this business, if I'm not willing to do that, the only thing people are going to see is they're going to see work. They're not going to see the fruits of that work. And that doesn't necessarily look very fun or very motivating for someone to want to do this as a business. So that's one of the first ones, is to make sure that you have to motivate yourself before you motivate others. The next premise under this one is when you love what you do and you do it with people you love, you are inspired and inspiring. This business is all about relationships. Quite honestly, the rest is just details. The beautiful thing about this business is we get to choose who we work really closely with and who we don't for the most part. Those personal enrollees that we bring into the business on our front line, the leaders that we're grooming and working through and mentoring through this process of building their own business, typically those are going to be people that we care about and we want to do this type of thing with. And here's the thing with this is you want to make sure that you do bring those people that you care about, that you get along, that you enjoy spending time with. You want to bring them along with you, because at some point in time, if you keep growing and moving forward in this business, what's going to happen is you're going to have all kinds of monetary and time freedom. None of your friends are. And as you grow, you want to make sure that the people that you love are growing with you, because then you're going to have more of those similar interests in as well, and that's what you want. And when you can do that, when you are working with people you love and you're doing what you love, it's not a job. That's going to shine through, and people are going to see what that really looks like. The next thing is you can't give what you don't have. I mean, let's face it. Life is not all about Young Living, and life is not all about network marketing. Life is not all about essential oils or supplements. Life is life. And if you aren't doing things that fill you up, those things that outside of business that bring value into your life and value into others' life, you're not getting your gas tank filled back up. And if your gas tank is not filled back up, you're not going anywhere. Let's face it, everybody understands the fact that if you let your car run out of gas, your car stops. And it cannot go forward. Now, you can get out and push it, but that's not really feasible to go anywhere. It's the same thing here. If your personal gas tank, your life gas tank is empty, you could push it. You could push yourself, but there's nothing left to give anybody else. So in order to be motivated and be motivating to others, you have to be filling that tank back up yourself. Right now, to kind of introduce the next piece, we're going to play a quick little video here. Boy, isn't that true? If we just had the wisdom of geese, life would be a lot simpler at times, right? So one of the things that we want you to do is, as you're going through each of these pieces, so one was be motivated and be motivating. that then you have to have the one to be the other. I want you to evaluate yourself at the end of each one of these. You hit pause, do whatever you have to, but take a little time of reflection and grade yourself. 0 being you're terrible at it, and 10 being you've got this locked up. You don't need any more help with it at all. Where you're at with each one of these values of leadership. And then it gives you kind of an area and an idea of where you need to work and where you need to go. So let's move on to the next one, which is trust. And that was really the reason for the whole goose piece. That teamwork, trust through teamwork. And the thing with this trust through teamwork is you need to be competent in order for someone to add that trust piece and to have that trust piece with you. You have to be competent, because here's the deal. No one's going to trust someone that they don't believe can pull it off. Now, they did a study actually where they looked at this trust and competence, and what they found is they're directly related to each other. So where if somebody wasn't competent, people felt less trust for them. And when people had less trust, they felt that they were not as competent. So that piece is huge. Now, here's the reason for this, because promises are easy, but production is not. Actual results. People can talk a great game. Production or getting results is a whole different piece. And when you're looking at teamwork and that trust piece, the best way to develop or to show and to reinforce that trust piece is through production or actually getting something done. Now, I don't want you to think that, oh boy, here's the deal. I can never do this business, or I can never do any of this until I get good or until I become competent. That's not the fact, or not the thing at all, because how we develop that trust and that competence is through consistency. So here's the deal. When you start something new, we're not any good. I remember the first time I started piano lessons or trombone lessons, the first time I tried to do anything new. First time I taught an intro to oils class, I sucked. I was surprised anybody wanted to enroll. That's okay. This is where that teamwork piece comes in. The important thing to remember is there are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts with getting good. It takes consistency. But the piece with that teamwork is that it allows that person, that mentor, to be alongside of you, who is competent, who does have your trust because of their competence, who's been there, done it, to lend some of their belief, to lend some of their trustworthiness and their competence to you as you're going through and learning. But the biggest thing with this whole piece is that consistency piece of getting in there and actually getting in the game, starting somewhere at some time. There is no perfect time to start. We're all no good when we start at something new. So get in there and start getting good. The next thing, again, so now after that trust with teamwork, that list, that reevaluation piece, where are you at? 0, not very good. 10, I'm killing it. I got it all under control. The next piece, number 3, is that listen piece. And with this listen piece, what we talk about here is we need to make sure we are a good communicator and a better listener. Or some people may say that I'm a good teacher, but a better student. The minute that you feel that you've arrived and that you have nothing else to learn is the minute that your business is in dire trouble. Because as leaders and in leadership, here's the thing. Every day you're learning. And every day you're teaching. That is one of the biggest things that we can't stress enough for people, is the teaching piece. The teaching piece is where it gets solidified. The teaching piece, people always, okay, how do I remember this? How do I figure out how to get this into my brain? Whether it's a comp plan, whether it has to do with the oils and education on product, that has to do with that teaching piece. Our goal is to get somebody teaching what we've taught them as soon as possible. It doesn't have to be in front of a class or in front of a group. It can just be one-on-one thing, or calling somebody they know, or texting somebody they know, something to get that coming back out of their mouth or through their hands in a note, so that it's solidifying it in their brain. That's the big thing. And when we're talking about being a good communicator and a better listener, the best teaching is not out of knowledge, but it's experience. You can read all the books you want. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but until you've actually had boots on the ground, hands in the dirt, or on the project, there's something that there's things yet that you don't fully understand, based on not having that experience. When I first joined Brenda in the business, let's face it, when I first joined, I thought I knew based on what I'd heard her say and those types of things, I thought I had an idea. I didn't know what I didn't know. I had knowledge in other areas of life, some knowledge even in this industry, but not much. There was a big learning curve, and it took some time for me to get that experience. But once I had that experience, it's a completely different place to talk from. And again, that lends more validity to competence as well. So we talked about teaching, and how long should you wait before you teach something after you've learned it? Well, at a very minimum, you should wait at least 5 seconds for the brain to process it. And we joke about it, but it's true. The faster I can get someone teaching what they've learned or what I've taught them, the more solidified it's going to be in their brain for understanding and memory. So the teaching piece is a big one. And when we talk about this communication and listening piece, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should listen twice as much as we're speaking, right? But in order to have something to listen to, we have to be able to ask a good question. And these good questions, or great questions, are keys that unlock doors to success. One thing we learn as we go through this business and we start to ask questions is we learn when we don't ask a good question, there's not much information that's coming in. So then we have to start to constantly, that plan, do, review, where you plan, you do, and you review. You plan, you ask the question, you review what you got in information back from that question. And if it wasn't good information or enough information, how do I rephrase that question better to get more information to help unlock that door to succeed further? So that constant feedback is going to help you, and the constant attempt at asking questions is going to help you get better answers. Again, when you first start asking questions, you're not that good at it. The more questions you ask, the better you get at figuring out which questions are the right questions to ask based on personality and based on other things that you start to observe. And here's the biggest thing with communication and listening. You need to love to learn more than you hate to fail. And the whole failure piece is a fear. And that's really honestly what holds the majority of people back in this business. They're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of putting themselves out there. They're afraid of revealing who they are. And you have to want to learn more than you hate to fail. Than you fear to fail. Because if that overriding desire to learn outweighs that fear, you're gonna start to pick up more information by listening. You're gonna be able to communicate a little bit better, and you're gonna start to see that excellence and success a little bit more. So let's talk about these 3 words just a little bit. So in this whole process of communication, listening, moving forward, and leadership, the first thing that in the first place you start is the burn. And you have to burn with passion. So whether that's burning with passion for the product, for the company that you're with, Young Living, or whether that's burning with passion for the opportunity, the financial piece of it. Whatever that is for you, that's okay. But that burning with passion allows you then to learn for growth, because when you have a passion for something, you're going to start to become more curious. You're going to start to wonder more. You're going to start to look into it more, ask more questions, ask better questions, which are going to in turn allow you to grow. The next thing is the turn. You're going to once you start to grow and learn, you're going to come to a realization that you need to make some changes. So whether that's changes in your health, changes in your financial piece of what you're doing in your financial planning or in your job, but those changes start to happen. So again, you burn with passion, allows you to learn and grow, causes you to turn or to make changes based on what you're seeing. And at the end, all of these together allow earning. And that earning is more than just one aspect. That earning is peace. It's not just earning money. That is one of the cool things about it, but it's also earning the respect and earning those relationships. That's literally what we do. Relationships are earned. They're not given. Respect is earned. It's not just given. So that's this whole piece of burn, learn, turn in order to earn, and whatever that earning piece is for you and that's important in your life right now. So number 4, resourceful. Entrepreneurs, the definition of an entrepreneur is someone who is resourceful. It's taking and making something out of virtually nothing or very little. That's what an entrepreneur does. Think about it. You're taking an intro kit or your starter kit, and you're turning that into possibly a financial legacy. That's what an entrepreneur. $150 investment could bring you residual income in the millions. That's being resourceful. And an entrepreneur is always a self-starter. You can't, if you want to do this, you cannot, you should not need somebody to get you going, to get you started, to rah-rah, shake the pom-poms at you, play the fight song, all those types of things, set your alarm for you. There needs to be that deep down driving desire from within, that motivated piece. Remember, you have to be motivated from within, not motivated from without, in order to be motivating to others or inspiring to others. So that's a huge piece of this. So are you a self-starter? Because here's the deal. Entrepreneurs always start early. I look at it this way. As an entrepreneur, you're out there running the race before anybody else is even out of bed and knows there's a race running. That's how early you start. When nobody else is pulling it. So one of my goals was to be in the best shape I've ever been in my life by when I hit 45. That means high school football. That means the best shape of my life when I turned 45. Now for the last year and a half, almost 2 years, that's meant getting up at 3:45 in the morning and being in the gym at 4:15, because that was the only time that I had available to do that workout. So knowing that's starting early. That's getting up before anybody else is and putting in my time that nobody else has a chance to pull on me with. Here's the other thing. You need to be willing to embrace your strong desire to win. Most entrepreneurs, those of us who have done this and who are doing it, we have a desire to win. We have to stop feeling like we need to apologize for that desire to win. Now, there's two different wins. There's a win at cost to others, and there's a win for yourself. I'm not talking about winning at a cost to others. What I'm talking about is a win based on where I have been in the past or what I've achieved in the past. That's the type of win I'm talking about. I'm talking about exceeding what I've done in the past, not comparing myself to other people. That comparison piece, we all know it. We know it steals joy. And I don't know all the intricacies of what's happening in these other leaders' lives, in their businesses, what they've been exposed to, what hard work they've done before they joined the company. All I know is I need to win today compared to yesterday. And that's the important thing. Because as an entrepreneur, you have to value opportunity more than you do security. Many people say, they can't do this because they like the security of a job. Well, the problem is, if you look at employment recently, as of late, and the security that a job offers, it does not take long to find somebody who has had a job, who has lost a job that they thought was a secure position, and now is looking or can't find anything. Many times doing what we do as an entrepreneur and working for yourself, you see the value of the opportunity in the future of putting in the hard work right now, putting in the time that nobody else is willing to right now. That opportunity is going to give you more security in the future than you would have had with a quote-unquote secure job right now. So that's what we're talking about as far as valuing opportunity more than security. Do you value that, or do you value the piece of comfortability more than opportunity? And here's the other thing that you're going to have to get used to as an entrepreneur. You are where it starts and where it stops. And because of that, you must deal with the slaps of life, not run away from them. In this business, in life, in any other business, you're going to end up with things that are going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's when. In this business in particular, cross-line, down-line, upline conflicts, they're going to happen. Unless you are a unicorn and you have an absolute unicorn leg and you talk to nobody else, there's going to be conflicts there. Possible comp plan changes. Possible things with corporate where they don't get a product to a member on time or to you on time, or they go out of stock. People saying no to either your opportunity of the product or your opportunity of the business. Those are the little slaps in life, and they're guaranteed to come. You deal with them head on, you accept them, look at a way, okay, how can I change it for the better next time? What can I do differently? What lesson can I learn from this? And move on. That's what an entrepreneur does, and that's being resourceful with the slaps of life. So how were you there? At being an entrepreneur with all those things we went through, where would you rate yourself? The next value is simplicity and seeking that simplicity. You want to make sure that you are a communicator, not an educator. What a communicator is going to do is a communicator is going to take something that's complex and they're going to simplify it. They're going to make it understandable. An educator is typically going to take something that is simple and try and complicate it. They're going to try and show you how smart they are, what they know, how brilliant of a person they are, how brilliant of a business person they are. A communicator doesn't care. Their main goal is to make sure that you understand what they're trying to get across. However that has to happen, they're going to try and do that. That is the end goal when it comes to simplicity. Einstein said, if you can't explain something in the truly simplest terms, you do not understand it. And think about, for those of you who have done speaking engagements, it's so much harder to simplify something into a shorter time frame, a 15 to 20 minute talk versus an hour or an hour and a half. But there's extreme value in that simplicity. I mean, in reality, the best things in life are simple. Think about the smile from a child as you're going through homework and they figure something out. That feeling of confidence that they get. A hug from a child in the words of, I love you, Mom, or I love you, Dad. that touch from a friend that comes alongside of you. For Brent and I, it may be a simple motorcycle ride on a warm summer evening for 15 minutes, just to get away, just the two of us, with nothing pulling on us, no phones, no nothing, no kids, just the two of us on a motorcycle, enjoying God's creation. Those simple things are so important, and it's no different in our business. The simpler we keep it, the more people are going to want to be a part of it. And when you're looking at this whole value piece, here's what we want you to remember. The values are the foundation. Those are those values that are setting that culture. That's the foundation of how you grow your business, of how you grow your organization. But out of those values and culture, you're going to pull certain principles that are going to drive the culture in your business. The next step is you prioritize these principles. Now, and it's almost like systems. If you prioritize these principles and how you're doing things and how you're keeping it simple and how you're leveraging and duplicating, if you do that right, the top 20% of the things you do will give you an 80% return. This is called the Pareto principle. And when I was in the clinic, 20% of my patients were 100% of my problems and headaches. The same thing if you look at your downline. I can guarantee pretty much every single one of you on here, you don't all have a downline full of headaches. And if you look at it, probably 20% of your downline is 100% of your headaches. 80% of them you don't even have to worry about. Really kind of a simple thing to think about. So how were you on simplicity? Are you being simple or are you being complex? Are you actually communicating or are you educating? So the next one is test. And we talk about testing yourself or testing others. And why is that important? Number one, if you want to win and you want to be better, you have to have a benchmark and you have to test yourself and see how you're doing against yourself and what you've done in the past. When it comes to growing your business, that testing others piece is kind of a qualification piece. It's all of us know who are building a business, and if you are just getting started, you will come to find out that you will have people who say they want to do it, but their actions are completely different than their words. So you have to give a little tests or qualifications at times to see who or where to put your time and where to put your efforts, the majority of your time and the majority of your efforts. And one thing that all great leaders understand is that you can't take people where you haven't gone or been yourself. And we talk about this with the difference between a tour guide and a travel agent. So a travel agent, you're going to go into their office and you're going to say, I want to go to Greece. They're going to pull out a bunch of pamphlets and brochures on Greece and different things you can go see in Greece. They're going to book your tickets. They're going to book your tours. They're going to say, yeah, I read and have heard that this is a great place to go. Or so-and-so has told me that they had a good time when they went here. And then they're going to give you your tickets and you're going to leave their office and then you're going to go to Greece on your own and you're going to hopefully find everything that they talked about. Whereas a tour guide is going to say, here is where we're going to go. We're going to go here. We're going to eat here because this is the best food. I've been there. They treat you incredible and the food's incredible. We're going to go over at this time of day, we're going to go see this place because the crowds are less. And I know a shortcut to get us there. That tour guide is going to link arms with you and say, come with me. I've been there. I've done that. I know because I've been. Whereas the travel agent is just, I read it in a book and looks good. I would recommend this. So you have to have gone there yourself. And as a leader, you never ask someone to do something you haven't done yourself. Kind of goes back with that other one, with the tour guide and the travel agent. Nothing is beneath you as a leader to get something done. Remember, your followers are going to do what you do, but they're going to do it to excess. So if they see that you're not willing to do some of the grunt work, some of the setup, some of the getting dirty type of work. When it comes to this business, they're not going to want to do it either. They're going to think, well, once I reach their rank, I don't have to do that anymore either. It's that leaders eat last piece. It's being of service to others and putting others before yourself piece. And the next thing is, in testing yourself and testing others, the credibility of your leadership is not what you have done, but it's what you're doing right now. So when I was a chiropractor before, I was a leader in my clinic and in my practice. I led my patients, I led my staff. When I joined Brenda, I had a little bit of credibility based on what I had done in the past. But unfortunately, what I had done, what I was doing now, was there some similarity and possibly a little bit of crossover? Yeah. I didn't know how much, and I didn't know in what capacity at that time. But when you looked at the people that we were going to lead, or that I was going to try and help Brenda lead, they didn't know if they should trust me or not. They could care less what I had done in the past. It's what I'm doing right now and what I'm doing that relates to what they need to accomplish. So with Brenda, she had to lend me some of her credibility. And that helped. With her saying, hey, trust Scott. He knows what he's doing. Because I'm working with him as well. That will lend some credibility. But it still takes a piece on my end of learning and getting involved and actually getting some experience, like we talked about before, so that people could have that trust and feel that I'm competent. And the other thing is that we talked about just couple minutes ago about the whole piece of when you get to a certain rank and you feel like you've arrived. So if you get to Royal Crown and you say, yep, guess what? I made it to Royal Crown, I'm done. I don't need to do anything further. I don't need to continue to worry or to continue to grow or to continue to improve myself. I'm not doing anything at that point. And because I'm not doing anything at that point, that credibility of my leadership starts to drop. I'm not doing anything to stay relevant with the current situation. Many times people will say, well, they're out of touch or they're out of date based on what current events are. No different in leadership. And here's the thing. We talked about this a little bit. And this is one of those qualification pieces that we use with team members and people we're working with. Don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me. Telling me means nothing. Telling me means potential. Showing me means this is what I'm doing. Again, it's not what you have done in the past. It's what you're doing right now. Telling me versus showing me. We look for the showers. So now let's get into excellence. So hopefully you've taken a little time to to evaluate yourself on the last one. And let's get into a little bit on excellence. And we've got down here, seek excellence, not success. Now it may sound a little bit odd, but let's delve into a little bit about why we talk about seeking excellence over success. The thing is, success means being the best. It means being the best at sometimes the cost of others. And what that does is it breeds comparison. If I'm going to say I'm the best at something, that means I'm going to compare myself to others. Now, not all comparison is bad. Sometimes we compare to make sure we're, as a benchmark, that we're improving at a rate that's okay, or that we want to. But what excellence means is it always means being your best. We're always striving for improvement. We talked a little bit about this on the win. Not being afraid to win or to embrace that desire to win. What I'm trying to win against is myself and what I was or what I did. It's no different when in excellence. Excellence means trying to be better than I was yesterday, than I was 10 minutes ago, than I was last year, And I'm always striving for improving myself, not beating somebody else. Because improvement, when we work on improving ourselves, it's going to force us out of our comfort zone. And the only way we can grow is by stepping out of our comfort zone. Let's look at a kid. When they start to get growing pains, they're not in comfort anymore. There's pain because their bones and their muscles and their joints, everything's growing. It's no different for us when we look at it from a self-improvement piece. We still need to exhibit and endure some of that pain in order to really grow when we're outside of our comfort zone. That's what we're going to experience. That's what's going to cause us to want to do something different or to be better. We change because of two things, pain or pleasure. And pain wins over pleasure every single time. So when we endure pain, it gives us the chance to change and be better or do better. And when you look at seeking excellence and not success, it is a daily commitment. This isn't something I think about once a week, or successful people think about once a week. They think about it every single day. They think about it with every single task that they're doing, on how can I do better and be better, and what can I do different with this? If I didn't think about, when I'm in the gym, seeking that excellence piece every single day I was in there, I wouldn't be making gains. I wouldn't be improving. Because here's what happens. Those small changes over time equal a big difference. There's a book called Good to Great, and it talks about all these different companies where all of a sudden somebody says, wow, that company was an overnight success. Well, what they didn't see was that they didn't see that company working on their values, the things we're talking about right now, and their hedgehog principles for 10 years prior to that quote-unquote overnight success. It's those people it's those things that we do when nobody else is watching, the mundane, seemingly petty, non-glamorous things that we all do as entrepreneurs and business owners to grow ourselves and to grow our business when nobody is watching. Those are the small things that happen over time that equate to a huge difference when you look at that expanse of time. So don't be afraid to do those things. They are absolutely, absolutely important. And here's the thing. Here's the stumbling block for most people. The unfortunate thing is most people are willing to improve their circumstances. And by circumstances, it means they're willing to improve their health. They're willing to improve their financial situation. But what they're not willing to improve is themselves. And the catch-22 is, in order to truly improve those other situations or circumstances, that improvement first has to come from themselves. That piece of going for that excellence has to come from themselves first and foremost.